Good morning, everyone. Nice to see everybody. Yeah, update on Stride. Normally, about this time of year, we would begin to.
Sorry, you're gonna have to hold the mic, take it out of there, step back, because they only see your chest online.
Oh, I see it now. Normally, this time of year, we begin to get Stride rolling. There's some planning, reporting with the deans, get the mentors committed, and get the year laid out. That happens in early August typically. This year, obviously, things are a little different. So I have been in contact with deans that I just don't get on what their thought is. First of all, the attitude is, let's figure out a way to do Stride. That's their posture. So I agree. Charge of that. I thought we would put together those that have been a part of Stride, recent mentors that want to be a part of brainstorming. How are we going to go about doing this? What are the key elements that we can still deliver in a way that's COVID friendly to some group of seniors and help them with their life from high school. One change that I'll just mention that's sort of already been a decision made is the timing for Stride. Normally begins formally in September. That'll be pushed back about a month. So they haven't even selected the students yet. Too much information here, but normally they do that in the spring, but weren't able to do that. So they'll be selecting the 32 students this September, and we'll officially begin rolling with Stride in October. Begin my dates, yeah, begin in September, begin in October. Looking forward to those that are willing to step up and help figure out a way to make Stride happen this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Mike Cooper, you have 30 seconds. Let your eyes up in. Are you waiting for the applause?
You'll be waiting a long time.
148.
I can make that too. Okay, well, thank you for that. Lewis House Drive for the 8:20 meeting. Nancy or Sheila or Amy, would you like to contribute to that conversation? She just got an awful. I think she's saying we'll be following up with you on emails. But rest assured, we're doing a drive for the Lewis House, and they've got some unique hygiene items that they're looking to collect. So, Taste of Lakeville, you have a minute and a half.
Just pull straight out.
Oh, Eric,
okay, good morning. It's kind of showtime this week on auction. Kathy sent out a nice email that explains everything we can do. We really need every member's support and help with making a successful auction. And it'll be one of the key ways for our salvage operations with Taste of Lakeville 2020. So, Adam, if you can talk just briefly about some of the ways that you can donate.
Thanks, Richard. And I'd just like to thank all the sponsors and everybody that's already donated to the auction and donated their time for this year. It's been different. We're still having an online auction starting the 13th and running to the 19th, and that'll be on Silent Auction Pro. You'll see information about that coming out soon. If you'd still like to donate, please have donations in by tomorrow. If you're donating an item, coordinate with me. I can pick that up from you or drop it off at Citizens Bank. If you'd like to donate cash, we can utilize that as well and hopefully buy something at a discount at an auction. And you can either Venmo the Lakeville Rotary Foundation, send in a check, or coordinate with me and Alan. You can have it invoiced on your next next invoice.
Hey, Adam,
Yes.
can you make sure you put stuff on social media so we can share it out with our community about the silent auction? Because yes, people have been to Taste of Lakeville and know all that kind of stuff, but it didn't happen this year, so we want to make sure that we're able to get that. So create an event or something on our page, the Rotary page, so we can share that.
Yep, great question. And so yeah, we will be sharing the information for the silent auction. Unfortunately, none of the items will show until the 13th. That's when the auction opens. But yes, our marketing team will be sharing information on the silent auction. Thank you.
I'm gonna wrap up here pretty quick, but please, if we plead with you, it's the end of this week, then it's gonna be too late for auction, so please get your stuff in and help us salvage something financially nice out of Taste of Lakeville 2020.
Thanks, guys. I made the email we got the other day, it was really easy. Click on a button, credit card, boom, $1,000. This is the time where we get into our program, which is Joe Schmit. Chris Casey will be introducing him this morning. And while he's walking up here, I would just ask that if you save all of your questions regarding Sid Hartman to the end, it'll probably go a little smoother. So, thank you.
I actually have one announcement before we get into the program. I help out with our Boy Scout relationship. And thank you. I help out with our Boy Scout relationship with Rotary. They're in need of two things. They need a space for their trailer, which is a good sized trailer. It's a brand new trailer and it needs a home to be parked at. So if you know somebody or have land or somebody that owns like a rental storage facility, let me know. And they're also in need of a space for when they're actually able to get together and meet again. So again, I'm the liaison between Rotary and Boy Scouts, and they're in need of those couple things. They've been in need for several months now, but because everything's gone virtual, they've been okay. But they really need a space for their trailer. So that's my announcement. But
How big is the troop? How many boys in the troop?
I don't know the number, but I do have the size dimensions that they need for space for physically meeting. Like I've been working with a troop master there that he's like, here's kind of what we'd like to have in terms of a space to meet. Here's the size of space I need to store this trailer. And the trailer, it's not a semi-trailer, but it's a good sized trailer to haul all their stuff around and when they go camping or outings and those types of things. So if anybody is interested, let me know. I can forward you on the dimensions and the requirements for what we're kind of looking for. Thank you. Anyway, on to our speaker, Joe. I actually saw Joe at Tom Mork's presentation. So again, hi Joe, you don't remember me, but I remember you. Your presentation is fantastic. But our speaker today is a man who's had a front row seat at some of the greatest sports events in the last 30 years. He has interviewed the biggest names, covered the biggest events, and turned in some of the biggest expense accounts in TV history. He has won 18 Emmys from the National Association of Television Arts, and is a 2019 inductee into the Minnesota Speakers Hall of Fame. He has written 2 books, Silent Impact and the Impact Blueprint, a step-by-step journey to a life of significance. Are you ready for some impact? Please welcome Joe Schmit.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. And I hope the next time we do this, we can all be in the same room together. So I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room right away. By now you've heard it all. We're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. All these things are well-intentioned, but I don't think they're exactly true. We're not all in the same boat. We're in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. Some people's boats right now have already crashed on shore. Some people's boats are in choppy water. Some people's boats have relatively smooth sailing. But no matter where your boat is, there's something we all can do. There are 2 things we can do. We can listen and we can care. And when you listen and you care, you can make an impact. And when you make an impact, you can lead a life of significance. That's what I want to talk about a little bit today. I happen to study people who make an impact. I do sports and love sports, but through the years, I've studied people who make an impact. As a matter of fact, As was mentioned, I've written 2 books. The first book was called Silent Impact, and the second book called The Impact Blueprint, a step-by-step journey to a life of significance, 52 traits of people who make an impact on the world. And as I study people, I come across great stories, and there's power in stories. I covered a track coach at the University of Minnesota by the name of Roy Griak. I'm sure a lot of you people remember Roy Griak. He coached the Gophers for over 30 years. He had a very successful career. He coached Big Ten champs. He coached national champs. He even coached athletes who made it to the Olympics. Well, Roy continued coaching the Gophers even after he retired as a volunteer. And as Roy was getting ready to pass, I started reading tributes to Roy on social media. And I recognized a lot of the names of the people who were writing the tributes. They were the Big Ten champs, the national champs, and the Olympians. But something struck me. Not one of them said, I would have never made it to the Olympics if you weren't my coach. Remember that Big Ten championship we won. Remember that meet in Iowa. Not one of them said anything like that. They said things like, I'm a better man today because you were in my life. I'm a better parent because you were my coach. I just closed the biggest business deal of my life using Roy Griak 101. And it got me to thinking, Roy Griak lived a life of significance, not because of the champions he coached or the trophies in his trophy case. He lived a life of significance because of the impact he had on the world. You see, in my research, I've found out that we make our biggest impressions when we're not trying to be impressive. And let me say that again. We make our biggest impressions when we're not trying to be impressive. I call this concept silent impact. And the impact that we have on people is real, it's powerful, it's profound, it's contagious, and it can last a long, long time. I know an impact player who I think everybody in this room knows, Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins. 20 years ago, Joe was a senior at Cretin-Derham Hall High School in St. Paul. Now, in every high school, there's a lunchroom, and in every lunchroom, there's a cool table. So you got to imagine where Joe Mauer sat 20 years ago at Cretin-Derham Hall for lunch was the cool table, because Joe was simply the best high school athlete the state of Minnesota has ever produced. Joe was recruited by every major college football program to be their starting quarterback. Joe was an all-state guard in basketball, led his team to the state basketball tournament. But baseball was Joe's best sport. And with the very first pick in the amateur baseball draft, the Minnesota Twins took Joe Mauer, the kid from Cretin-Derham Hall, the hometown kid with the first pick. Joe was tall, good looking, and soon to be very rich. I'd take any one of those 3 for 10 minutes. Every day after Joe's 4th hour class, Joe would walk a special needs student who happened to be blind to the lunchroom and invite him to sit down at his table, the coolest table on campus, every day. And I asked Joe, I said, Joe, why did you do this? And Joe's answer was very simple, but yet profound. He said, because it was the right actions with his values. And when you align your actions with your values, that becomes your purpose, and that makes an impact. So I started thinking, I put my reporter's cap on and I thought, who else did this have an impact on? Remember, silent impact. We make our biggest impressions when we're not trying to be impressive. My reporter's cap on and I found 6 guys who sat around that table every day 20 years ago with Joe Mauer and Mike Hawley, the young man who Joe walked. And then the stories started to come in. They said that Joe would walk Mike to the next class once lunch was over. Those guys who sat at that table every day, by the end of the first quarter, would fight over who got to walk Mike to his next class. Wednesdays was pizza day at Cretin-Derham Hall, and Mike would invariably spill some crumbs on his clothing, pizza sauce in his chin or his cheek. Joe Mauer would nonchalantly grab a napkin, wipe him off, brush him off, and get him ready for the next class. By the end of the first quarter, they were all doing this. These are high school kids, the most selfish creatures on God's green earth. But Joe was having an impact. And the impact that we have is real, it's powerful, it's profound, it's contagious, and it can last a long, long time. It happens in absolutely every single thing we do, as in business, in professional life, and in your personal life. As a parent, you take your 13-year-old son or your 13-year-old grandson, the Valley Fair, the amusement park, and you look up at the sign, and you see 12 and under is $25, 13 and above is $50. You turn to your 13-year-old son and you say, you're 12 today. Now, we probably have all done that in some form or fashion. I'm guilty of that myself. But for $25, you just had a negative silent impact. For $25, you just told your kid if there are rules or regulations or laws you don't like, you can simply ignore them. That's why we have to be careful, because the impact we have can be positive or it can be negative. And in this time during this coronavirus, we're not being judged on how we respond to good things. We're being judged on how we respond to anxiety and pressure and stress and the tough times. And we're seeing some bad examples of people, bad behavior, who are not responding very well. We broke down silent impact into 3 areas. Purpose, I mentioned purpose, aligning your actions with your values. Persistence, we found out that people who make an impact are persistent in their positivity, they're persistent in their preparation. And last but not least, we found out that people who make this impact and live this life of significance are people with tremendous passion. They're the heart and soul of any organization because they simply care, and they're not afraid to let anybody know they care. So persistence, we break persistence down into 2 areas. Be persistent in your positivity and be persistent in your preparation. I remember the time I had to be the most persistent in my entire life. It's when I started dating many years ago. You see, I had a problem when I started dating, and here was my problem. Every time I brought a girl home, my mom didn't like her. It didn't matter, every time. So finally I got smart, and I went out and I found a girlfriend that kind of looked like my mom. She dressed like my mom. I know sounds kind of funky. She wore the same perfume as my mom. It was great. My mom loved her. But now I had a new problem. My dad didn't like her. So you need to be persistent in your preparation. How are you persistent in your preparation? You know, John Wooden, the late great basketball coach at UCLA who won 10 national championships, has a great quote where he says, it's what you learn after you know it all that really counts. That's being persistent in your preparation. Being persistent in your positivity is doing it all the time. My wife and I were out to dinner a few years back with some friends we hadn't seen in a long time. We had a lot of mutual friends. And about halfway through the dinner, we realized this was a completely negative experience. They were talking trash about some of our mutual friends. They were complaining about the food, complaining about the service. They were bragging about their kids. It was just a really negative night. And on the ride home, I said to my wife, Laura, Laura, that wasn't very fun, was it? She said, no. I said, let's not go out with them anymore. And she said, why is that? I said, we only have so many choices, so many nights we can choose who we socialize with. We will no longer pick negative. So the best way to get rid of negative is by getting rid of as many negative things as you can in your life. We haven't gone out with that couple since. So if you, somewhere in your day, if you've been the person that has gone out with these people, just push them out another level. Just push them out another level. Get rid of negative thoughts, negative words, get rid of negative ways that you approach things, and you can be this great person of impact. You see, it's all about how you evolve. How are you evolving during the tough times? Great leaders learn to evolve. One of the exercises that I do when I'm speaking, and a lot of times I do keynote speech, I'll do a half-day seminar, I'll do an entire workshop. I'll work with the team even for a year because I study this impact leadership, and leaders who really make an impact, we find out have some of these traits. They really care. But one way I think we can all be more aware and intentional with the impact that we have on the world is by looking at our own lives and figure out who's had a big impact on our lives, on what we do. And I came up with the metaphor, if you could build a monument to the 4 most impactful, influential people in your life, who would you put up on your Mount Rushmore of influence? And I literally will give people this exercise to use, to fill out. And it's a great team building exercise because afterwards I have people discuss who's on your Mount Rushmore of influence. And I tell them, you can't put your parents down. That's way too easy. Think about who helped you in your professional life, who helped you in your personal life, who was there for you when times were going bad, who's always there for you. And then think about, why are they on your Mount Rushmore of influence? Were they the kind of people who are there because they care, because they make better connections. You see, when you make an impact and you live a life of significance, you end up having deeper, more meaningful relationships. That's when it becomes significant. That's when you become this great impact leader. That's the way to do it. So I encourage you to think about this. As a matter of fact, I did a presentation for 100 high schools in Minnesota, and each high school sent 2 leaders. And in the morning, I worked with the kids. In the afternoon, I worked with their parents. And at night, I put them all together, and I had them compare their notes on their Mount Rushmore of influence. And afterwards, I had a line over here of parents and a line over here of kids. The parents were telling me they learned more about their kid in the day that we worked today than they ever had in their life. And over here, the kids were saying, I heard stories about my parents I never knew before. So if you want to have a great family exercise, do this exercise. Do it with your grandkids. Do it with your kids. Find out who they admire, who's had an impact on them, and why. And then look at your own self. And that will help you become more aware and intentional with the impact that you have. The last trait that we have is passion. Passion. Think about people you like to be around in your life. Think about people who are successful in their careers. I guarantee you they are people with great passion. I married my wife because she's the most passionate person I know. Just the other night, she's sitting with a glass of wine and she says, I love you. I don't know how I made it all these years without you. I said, well, honey, I love you too, but are you sure that's not the wine talking? She says, yes, I'm sure. I was talking to the wine. So you got to be careful with that passion a little bit. But I was doing a presentation for a group of Wendy's franchise owners and general managers, and it was a pretty big deal. The actual original Wendy was at the deal too. And afterwards, a woman came up to me and she said, I'm really understanding this thing about silent impact, and it's really the little things that can turn out to be the big things. Can I tell you a story? And one of the great things that happens when I go out and speak and when I go out and present, I get great stories back. That's kind of how I wrote my second book on impact, is from the stories I get back. And this woman tells a story. She said every day an elderly gentleman would go to her Wendy's restaurant and go through the drive-through window for breakfast. And every day he was waited on by the same woman. It was a lady who dropped her kids off at school early, trying to earn the family a few extra dollars by working the drive-through window at Wendy's. And the woman who owned the restaurant said, I wish I had 100 of her. She was the best at customer service I ever had. When people came through the window, every order that went out that window was perfect. When she said, good morning, how you doing? How can I help you? And thank you. She meant every word of it. She made great connections with people because she was just that kind of personality. Well, one day, the old man who had been coming for breakfast for the last several months did not go through the drive-through window. He pulled the car over and walked into the restaurant. And he asked the owner of the restaurant if he could see the woman who had been waiting on him the last several months. And she said, sure. So up from behind the counter comes the lady. And the old man stands in front of her and he said, may I give you a hug? And she said, sure. And he gives her a big old burly bear hug, and he holds on maybe a little longer and a little tighter than is comfortable. But when he let her go, he said, I just had to come here and thank you today. I'm not going to be seeing you as much anymore. You see, every morning when I drove in here for breakfast, I was on the way to the hospital to see my wife. She went to the good Lord last night. But every day when I came in here, you reminded me of her. Nobody ever left a conversation with my wife without feeling better about themselves. That's what you did for me. It's called the second thank you. When you go back and thank somebody who's had a monumental moment in your life, somebody who did the little thing that really turned out to be the big thing. You know, we're seeing it so much right now with the coronavirus going on, from the frontline workers, from the people who are working in the grocery stores, from the people who are doing service industries who are putting themselves at risk. We're seeing them do the little things. Make sure you acknowledge them. Make sure you thank them. You see, I hear all the time, you know, you'll work with different companies and different groups, and you'll hear all the time about, you know, the generational differences. And I say baloney. Because I don't care what generation you are. Right now, there are 7 generations in the workplace, but I don't care what generation you come from. There's one thing every human being wants and needs, and that's to be acknowledged, to feel worth. And if you're an impact leader, you acknowledge people, you take the time to let them know that you care. That's how you make an impact. Now, what I want to do is I want to open it up to questions, and then I want to save about 3-4 minutes at the end to kind of wrap it up and put a button on this presentation. And obviously, I'll take questions about sports, about impact, about the research I've done, about books or whatever. But I wanted to leave enough time for some questions and answers, and then at the end, I'll if you make sure I have a couple of minutes to wrap it up. So, if anybody has questions out in the audience, just do the raise your hand thing, and I think that Kathy will help us out on that, and we'll see how this works.
The Zoom folks.
Good morning, Joe. Great presentation. Who are one or two of the people on your Mount Rushmore? Okay, my Mount Rushmore. I'll tell you about all four, and I'll tell you a story about one. My dad's on it, and I know you're not supposed to put your parent on, but my dad died. My dad died when I was 25 years old, and my dad's on it because I've spent the rest of my life trying to make him proud, and it just had a huge impact on me. He was one of those guys who lived a life of significance. When he died, the line around the block to get to the funeral home, it was incredible. I've got my high school football coach, my second boss in the broadcasting business, John Campbell at KCRG in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He taught me how to be a professional, and it was by osmosis. I just watched him. And the fourth guy I change once in a while, but Tony Dungy is the guy that I always go back to. Because Tony Dungy, I had the pleasure of covering and the pleasure of watching him go win a Super Bowl and go on to do many great things. Tony wrote a book called Uncommon. And if you haven't read the book, it's a fantastic book to read. But Tony was really one of these guys who walked the walk and talked the talk. Now, my high school football coach, I'll tell you a quick story why he's on the list. When I was a senior in high school, I was a kid that could have gone either way. I goofed around a lot. I didn't take a lot seriously, but I also, I had some things that I could have done well. And anyway, one day after my junior prom, I came back with a couple of hickeys on my neck. I don't even know how you get hickeys anymore, but I did back then. Anyway, the coach called me into his office, and he goes, Joe, I'm worried about you. You've got a lot of talent. You can go this way and get in trouble and live a troubled life, make mistakes now that you can never get over, or you can go the right way. And he goes, I have faith in you. You're a leader. You're going to go to college. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. He was the first guy that ever told me I'd go to college. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college before. He told me I was going to college. He gave me that confidence. And from that moment on, I was going to college. Matter of fact, I went to his university. That's how big of impact he had on me. And to this day, we're still, he's a Hall of Fame football coach in Wisconsin, and we still are in contact. So he's on my list. Thank you for that question.
Anyone online? What a question.
Any other questions?
Joe, where can we find your books?
I got a website, joeschmit.com, or you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If you want to buy, sometimes people want to buy, a bunch of them. Contact me directly. I can get them to you a lot cheaper than just ordering them online, because sometimes people buy them for their staff. It's pretty bizarre. My second book that I wrote, I ended up having back surgery. And I thought I was going to spend the month in bed recovering, watching Netflix and reading. That lasted about a day. Then I started writing, and I came up with my second book, The Impact Blueprint. So it's just, there's so many great things out there, and it's fun to try to inspire and motivate people and get people to look at the impact we have. There's so much negativity out there today. It's just amazing how many great people do things that make an impact.
Joe, do you have a minute to tell a quick Sid Hartman story?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Sid's pretty amazing. Yeah, a couple things about Sid. 10 years ago, and I tell this story periodically. 10 years ago, I went through cancer and cancer treatment, You know, every time I saw Sid after that, he would always ask me how my health is. Here's a 99-year-old man or 98-year-old man at that time, always asking me how my health was. He was always concerned about me. But I've got a lot of Sid stories, but I think one of my favorite ones is Sid was on the radio one day, and he was talking about this guy who died. And he said, well, you know, the guy smoked like a fish. To which I think means he drank like a chimney. but Sid's, you know, really, when you think about it, is beyond amazing for what he's done. He's an ornery old coot, but I'll tell you, the fact he's still doing it. And the other quick story is last year at a Vikings game when we could still go to games, I was getting off the elevator with Sid, and you got to walk about 40 yards to the Vikings locker room, and I was walking with another reporter, and Sid was beating us, walking with a walker. He was walking faster than we were with our normal gait, and I thought, this is amazing. What an only Sid.
He was trying to get the scoop on the story, I'm sure. If there aren't any more questions, please.
If there,
You had to wrap up.
do I have to wrap up?
Yes, please.
Yes, if you have a wrap up, I'm sorry.
Oh, I got to wrap up. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm done, and I respect your time. So, this whole impact thing has been really tremendous. And as I mentioned before, a lot of times I get stories back from people. So I was doing a presentation to 300 prison guards from Minnesota Correctional Association, and this was right after 2 prison guards died in tragic incidents inside the prison. This was a group of people who were scared, they were mad, they didn't feel they had a lot of support. I felt like I was walking into a beehive. I was like, they do not want me to be here. They're angry, and I thought this would be the toughest speech I ever gave. I had 3 hours with them, and one of the exercises I did was the Mount Rushmore of influence. And I'm thinking, nobody here is going to cooperate. So I said, does anybody want to share a story about somebody they have on their Mount Rushmore? And in the back of the room, a prison guard by the name of Mark Magnuson raised his hand. And he said, yeah, I'd like to tell you a story. My brother Tim is on my Mount Rushmore of influence, but he didn't get on that Mount Rushmore until he died. And I said, could you please share the story? He said, he couldn't have put any of his brothers or sisters on his Mount Rushmore. He said, we grew up with a big family in northern Minnesota. We played a lot of sports together. We were all pretty good athletes. He said, Tim eventually got a job in Columbus, Ohio. And because we grew up in northern Minnesota and Tim loved hockey, as soon as Columbus was awarded a National Hockey League team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, Tim knew he wanted to get a part-time job with the team just to be around hockey. Well, Tim ended up getting a job as the elevator operator on game day for the VIP elevator. He was taking care of the players' families, the management, all the management families. But Tim wasn't just a guy who pushed buttons on the elevator. Tim was a guy who realized how to push buttons on people in a good way. He had nicknames for all the players. He found out the kids when it was their birthdays. He always had treats. He had little presents. He became part of the team. Well, unfortunately, Tim was diagnosed with ALS. And as Tim was getting sicker and sicker, he stayed with the team as long as he could. He had really become part of the team. When Tim passed away, Mark went down to his funeral in Columbus. And he said about a half hour before the funeral started, a bus pulled up. It was the Columbus Blue Jackets. They had just gotten back from a game. They went a half hour out of the way just to come and pay tribute to the guy who ran the operator on game day. He says, Joe, that's when I realized that it is the little things that become the big things. And I realized we do make our biggest impressions when we're not trying to be impressive. But he said, Joe, you gave me goosebumps when you were talking before and telling your stories. Remember when I said we were all pretty good athletes? He said, Tim was the best athlete in the family. As a matter of fact, he ran track in college. His coach was Roy Griak of the University of Minnesota. We make our biggest impressions when we're not trying to be impressive. And the impact we have is real, it's powerful, it's profound, it's contagious, and it can last a long, long time. And we all need to be a little bit more aware and intentional so we can lead this life of significance. You see, through it all, it's very simple. It's the secret, and guess what? We all know it. And the secret is this. It's not about them. It's not about other people liking you. That's not it at all. It's about them liking themselves. And if you can be the person that helps make that happen, guess what? Someday you'll be up there on their Mount Rushmore of influence yourself. Thank you so much to the Rotary. Thank you for all you do in the community. I know you're a lot of impact players in that room, so it's been my honor and pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Well, I know it's probably not easy to get up this early in the morning and put on a sport coat and talk to us for an hour, but we really appreciate your time. And so we will be sending an honorary in your name to Treehouse, which is an organization in the Twin Cities, perhaps you're aware, that helps at-risk teenagers. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Master of Arms, at Arms, sorry. Just clean this morning. Here to flock. At least the flock. Or flocks of fleas.
Flock the fleas.
Well, they work both ways. Thank you, no. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I don't really have anything because I agreed to do this yesterday. And then I kind of wanted to do the get to know, did you know, but we just don't have quite the crowd here. So I'm going to do a couple different things. First of all, as President reminded me, pin check. I'll be paying my $1. And how many of you online have your pins on?
Oh.
Lori, you said something, what? Anyone
Sorry,
online
I couldn't hear you, Colleen.
Does
How many?
anybody online have their pin on?
Oh, no.
Well, thank you to all 25 of you. If you do not have a pin on, remember to put your $1 forward next time.
Venmo or PayPal.
Thank you. Now I'm going to do a couple unique things. I'll start with these two tables, the shielded in the area, those 7. And now where do I stand?
You can walk around.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I got it covered.
Okay. Every week's a new week, right? These 7 right here. Oh, you're collecting for pins, and then which one of you has had a birthday in July? Anyone? June? Tim, you're the most recent birthday, so the rest of you pay $1. And Tim, you stand up and say what you're happy for and pay your $1. No, we gotta collect money, folks. You okay touching it? No. A reflection moment.
Gotta hold that up so they can hear you online.
I have a anniversary coming up August 21st. I think it might be 16 years. 15 to 17. We'll say 15 to 17.
So he's paying his buck today, and when we hear about what David actually is, if you're within it, great. Next time you pay if it's 14 or 18.
There you go.
All right, I'll take these 2 tables. And some of this might not relate to you, so I'm sorry, but I think everyone here is married. Who has had an anniversary, wedding anniversary, in July? June? Ooh, 2 of you. All right. I'm sorry. The rest of you pay $1, and you both get to stand up and do a happy $1.
think Alan raised his hand second.
Alan, I hope you have something happy.
How many years, you know?
24.
I'm happy because last week we went out to Colorado to our cabin for a couple days and we spent a couple nights at the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. Had a great time. Came back and because my cousin's daughter's school starts on August 12th in Atlanta, she had to move her trip to visit us up by a week so she could begin a quarantine. So she came the day after we got back from Colorado. So it's been crazy. She left yesterday, had a great time. But it's been kind of crazy week and a half for us. Yeah. So, but all good and fun.
So, what she said. I'll say that the happiest part that we got to spend one night in Sioux Falls where there's this little pocket of freedom. The rest of the visible part of the trip where masks were required and all that.
Okay, you two tables, since they have taken vacation, who here has had who has had a vacation in July outside of Minnesota? In June? Wow, these are good table people in May. So all of you have been on lockdown. You all get to pay $1 then, just to contribute. Oh, okay, you don't want to pay $1 because none of you have been. So nobody has been on vacation since COVID started. Oh, do I give them a ride? We need at least a happy $1 from this table from someone who's happy and one from this table from someone. Oh, you got it. Okay. You happy? I'm happy to see Phil back here. That's great. Thought he was 149 days.
149. I got 149 people signed up for the program.
That's awesome.
And 148 about an hour.
Over here, Cody.
I'm gonna give a happy $2 and not a penny more because we welcomed our second daughter to this world last Friday at 6:30. Penny more, so I'm gonna save these. But Eloise Anna came to the world and really fast on the way to the hospital. We got there and they said, you need to go in the delivery room. She came so fast, the doctor wasn't able to get the stool set up, the bed, so she just came, we had her, and did all the tests afterwards, and wife, baby are happy, healthy, and they're at home right now. Big sister's love.
Anybody else here happy?
I can't top that, but I do want to help Tim out with what he should be happy about. We've raised over $25,000 in sponsorship, despite all of this.
All right. Anybody online besides your pin check $1 happy?
Clint? Colleen? I got some.
I'm not doing it.
You guys hear us online?
Nobody? Bob Bayer, you have nothing to be happy about? He's working.
Clint's there.
Clint's there.
Clint, what do you have to be happy about?
Hey, sailing season's well in, and I bought a new sail so I would go faster, only to learn that a new sail means you have to learn how to sail better. So I'm still losing, but I'm having fun.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Good morning. I have got 5 happy dollars because after 12 weeks, maybe some of you know that my wife has been in Florida for the last 3 months caring for her mother, and she's home. So glad to have her back. That's worth at least $5. And
Awesome.
we're still working on the rest of it.
Justin, how about you? You guys aren't gonna show your face, you painted out?
Is there a wedding update for Kathy Cleveland?
There he is.
You go, Kathy.
What was the question?
Ah, you're working, aren't you? You said those who aren't showing their face, they got into a happy dollar. What do you have to be happy about?
I am happy that, well, we bought a cabin this summer. So we've been able to use that. And it's been a great summer without any kids' activities. So we've been very blessed and thankful to use that as a family. So.
Awesome. Oh, Judy. Judy, what can we have to be happy about?
Well, mine is sad but happy. My father passed away last week, and yesterday we were able to have a beautiful service for him. And despite COVID, we were able to have a wonderful visitation and be able to have a beautiful service yesterday.
Our sympathies for you, Judy. All right. Anyone else online? Tony, you have something to be happy about.
Actually, you feel a little guilty about having been a little out of the loop on today's Lakeville. I know this project has fallen on just a few hands, leadership.
Further up.
And I'm learning this morning that we can still late in the game here participate in support by just Venmoing cash right into, maybe be more specific, please, because I know that's what I'm going to do for somebody who's not been as involved. So as your appreciation. And it sounds so easy. I hope a lot of people enjoy their same thing. So please tell us again how to do that. I did put it out there.
Who's gonna tell us?
There you go. Here's a link.
Someone other than me. Well, they want to know how to.
The Venmo account is Lakeville Rotary Foundation, and Kathy's name should be tied to it. So that's the Venmo. If you want to pay any other way, Kathy sent out an email on Tuesday with other ways to make it as well.
But Venmo costs Rotary $0 to do it that way.
Right.
Correct.
So that's a good idea.
And if it's the first time you've done it, they'll ask, what is the last 4 digits of the telephone number? So it's Kathy's telephone.
Good to know. I've never Venmoed, that's why.
What's the last 4 digits of the telephone?
Your cell phone.
Oh, 722-3449.
3449, last 4 of the telephone number.
Good to
And they
know.
can pay their fines that way.
Yes, good
And
news, you can pay your fines that way as well.
So keep going, guys.
Well, Kathy, will you send out that link?
I will, I'll resend it with the phone number information, now that I know that.
Can you guys all hear that? Kevin's gonna resend it.
Any happy dollars between these tables here that? All right. Anyone else online?
Full ticket.
Hey, we'll pull a ticket. Case meeting to follow, Richard?
Short, sweet, maybe Lakeville meeting, start right after the meeting here.
I would quickly like to say, as a follow-up to Tony and all of you online, I think we should give Richard and Adam a standing ovation for the longest chair. All together, because I remember about a year and a half, 2 years ago, Joe Julius sliding over during a meeting when he's had to pick up co-chair and jumped over to Richard's table and said about 4 words and then stood up and announced and said, I have my co-chair. So,
He didn't give me a chance.
no, he didn't. I watched it all. I witnessed it. So for 2 years, Richard has been in the trenches and has done an incredible job of keeping engagement and trying to keep it going. And so with sponsorships being where they are, and if everyone promotes buying the wine boxes for people to judge, there's 80 of them to sell. That will bring in another 8,000 to 10,000 plus the auction. We could hit over 50,000, which is incredible during this time. So Thank you, everyone. And the ticket pool was 675. Happy anniversary. Thank you. Here you go, Brad.
Well, yeah, and congratulations. Since your wife did like virtually all the work, do you get a discount on price of hospitalization?
The worst part about it, I looked at her and I go, on the way, do we have time to stop for coffee? She looked at me and said, you're crazy. And I'm still hearing about it. Just right.
You'll have to get a couple of keywords out of that. All right, I think this was actually a very inspirational. I mean, I am seen Joe Schmit. This is the third presentation, and so some of these stories did resonate with me, but I still get choked up when I hear them. So hopefully we can all make an impact on someone's life today. So, or next week while we go forward. So it is the conclusion of our meeting, and we do it with the 4-week test. In the things we think, say, and do.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Ding!
Oh, all right. First, okay, all right. I saw it going down.
That information brings something to your attention. On your email, you say only 50.
Hi, we're doing an audio check online. Can you hear us?
I'm in Minnesota, but I did go up north.
Nancy?
Oh, you haven't? I haven't left Minnesota. Not since.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear us?
March 16th at noon, my husband said we're still flying out tonight at 9 o'clock, and at 3 o'clock, he's like, maybe we should.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah, I canceled. At a destination wedding in Mexico. I canceled 3.
4 of my friends
Same
canceled
one.
their weddings, postponed or did like a small thing with just family.
Yeah. Supposed to go to Canada.
Yep. I had a trip to Jordan.
Oh, no.
And obviously the international convention in Hawaii.
Probably a country you hadn't been to yet.
Nope, it was on my bucket list to see Petra. And I had a friend living there who doesn't live there anymore, so I can't. I'll never go stay with them. and
Never
everything.
someone to go to Jordan.
I know, right? Spoke the language.
What more can you ask? Well, you know,
Okay, let's-
someone else will turn up.
Richard.
I really believe in that. I was supposed to go to Canada. You gotta go to lockdown. No, right, can't.
It still is.
Yeah. And that's it. And they said, you go. Thank you guys for taking me in there. Yes. Because very good. Yeah. See my nephew. Once you bend the chair, you just.
Are we good now on posters?
No.
No?
Over that way.
Okay.
Okay, let's get this party underway so everybody can go where they need to go. Short and sweet. I think the big thing is auction, but I think we've covered most of the auction stuff. What help do you need still? Next phase is to kind of load all these things up into the program.
Yeah, majority, I mean, Kathy's been a huge help with that, so most of the items are in Silent Auction Pro. A few that are still needed would be the wine tour, so we just need kind of information on that. And then we'll get that up there as well as.
I send you, when I said, what that is about.
Okay.
And if we got the $1,000 lodging and skip, the 2 plane tickets, we're just gonna have to connect to me. So it's airfare, $1,000.
What?
A Magnum. What do you call it?
Magnum.
Magnum. She said a Magnum was $300 was included. So I'll resend it.
So do we have everything we need for the big ticket items to present those to the world?
Did I see Divine Swine's doing?
Yes, they are. Yep, that's in there already.
Yeah, the certificate I emailed in.
So were we just gonna put that as a 12, or is that reasonable applicator, or is that a pickup type thing? That's what.
I believe that's coming out. It's what they've done in the past years.
Right. Oh, so and a lot of times.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
A lot of times we go and I would just letting that by itself.
That was my understanding, it was gonna be that live piece. What we're doing also is putting some packages together, and I asked them for, we're gonna buy some gift certificates from the vendors and then ask them to match those gift certificates and put some packages together. So the money that the members are gonna donate will be pooled together and along with what the vendors do. And then we'll be doing those for the silent.
And the hot air balloon is probably another higher end. Because I gave that value.
Is there a list somewhere of these big ticket items you want pushed?
There's a risk. What's that?
Is there like a list somewhere of these big ticket items you want pushed? 'Cause we keep talking about like social media or like pulling things
Those
out.
can go right now.
Is there a list of those?
I can send that to you today.
Yeah. Probably put everything 400 or 500 over.
We can start promoting. those.
Oh,
yeah.
Like yours.
I'll send you the big ticket items.
So I can find out info about them.
The brackets, the wine tour, the vacation in Wisconsin. I'll get you the details.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I can't hear what
Oh, I'm just getting her the bigger ticket items.
Okay, so I can know what they are to do, throw them out on social, sprinkle them, to get people excited.
Okay, big ticket items, going once, going twice, we got everything we need then to get the wheels turning on those. The rest of the auction items,
I need a list too to put on Silent Auction Pro, because those gotta be entered as donations. And I still don't know the specifics. So each individual item has to be entered. So we'll have to connect it, so I can get that on there.
Okay, and I can input that on there.
Does that need to happen before social promotion or not really?
No.
Because you can't view anything on the silent auction until the 13th when the auction actually opens.
Right, tomorrow's the deadline for bring those in.
Yes.
Latest lot of some stuff I can bring in. Some jewelry.
So.
And I have a McDonald Eye Care is on there, and then Old Country Buffet or whatever it's called, not Old Country Buffet. What's that? No. The restaurant that always gives us the rock. Cracker Barrel. So.
Do you want to drop that off at the bank or coordinate? Pick that up.
I usually just pick it up right. Well, I suppose we have to.
Whatever's easiest.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I
shoot
always pick it up,
Okay.
but.
Just shoot me an email and let me know what it is.
Just moving on to the rest of the auction items. Kathy I think we need to send out one more email blast.
Sure.
Like this morning and talk about that Venmo thing and one last push.
People are figuring it out.
Yeah. So can we send that today with the reminder that tomorrow's the cutoff? Like close the business tomorrow and.
Got it.
Be heard, everyone.
Shakedown.
Donate. Anything else to push our last push on auction here before tomorrow? Anything else to shake up the members? Or?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Jim, that was a some great ideas you had this week on the vendors. Put some of those things together. So thanks, Jim, on that. Okay.
Can I add one thing for the promotion, for marketing? Jim, did you connect already with Rachel on some of those vendors that need to be promoted that we talked about on the phone?
No, because we gotta confirm those vendors that are.
Need that promotion. So just so Rachel's aware of this is coming too, though.
What's that on social? What's this one?
Yeah, because we were gonna do it on social media, so I'll email you the summary. Of it. I just have to contact. Well, we're gonna do those gift certificates regardless.
Correct.
It's just how much they will be. That's not known yet.
But I was thinking,
Is this the punch card?
No.
Divine Swine,
We're not doing that, I think.
that we need to make sure we get that promoted on social media.
Yes. Yeah.
I just put Jim something about vendors.
Kathy, that'll be one of the bigger ticket items for the 50%.
But there is an impression to those vendors.
Is that part of
that
the
we're gonna give
big
them
ticket items to push?
promotion on the website and our social media in kind.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that it happens.
Everything about gift cards.
All right. Any last deals on auction?
You can follow.
So is this falling under auction or the wine box? You can talk about the wine box.
Wine box comes, yes, in second, but it'll be tied into auction. But okay, so a couple weeks ago we let a little monkey out of the cage, which was, as I always say, all little monkeys got to go on someone's back. But this one's running around. I want to know if we want to still do this. Is the live event that we're talking about, putting it on Lakeville TV and having an MC and kind of having a live auction on the day of closing. Do we
We
still
were
want to
gonna
pursue
do it
that?
out, we were gonna do it here, out
But
in,
somebody
at
needs to
Brackett's,
take
and
that
Steve
one.
said we could do it.
I don't think you're limited to day of closing. I think you got that 13th to 19th.
Okay.
Hey, Laswell's still here. Why don't you grab him?
Yeah, I just want to know, is that a monkey we want to put on someone's back, and we want to do that? But
Well, he'd do it.
well, I mean, somebody's got to coordinate the whole thing, you know, with what events are going to be live and when they're going to be live and who's going to be talking. And, do we still want to? I guess. Do we still want to do it? Like,
It's still part of the silent
Does someone want to grab Dave and see if
It's not her name.
well, I guess we still got time, but
I can go there and look.
Yeah, I don't.
These are silent.
That might be a little lower on the priority.
yeah, right now it's
I
not.
can assist with the coordination, but I can be involved in it, but I don't want to be the lead, if that makes sense.
Well, I think if we're gonna have Dave, let him, he knows, he's so involved with that TV cable station anyway, he does his own shtick.
Yeah, but that would only be one part of it.
Right,
You know,
no.
getting in wires. There's a whole thing of like, you know, setting it up and this at this time, this is going to happen at that time.
Well, if we set it up here, then we get Tim involved, because they already said we could use this
Okay.
back area.
So the consensus is still a good idea.
That's fine.
It's still a good
They
idea.
don't know that you can't.
I mean, it might be good. You could just
Yeah.
golf it there.
So it's still something we want to do. Okay.
Well, especially for the membership, it'd be nice to have
Great.
people coming up with bracket sign kind of.
They would love it.
Oh.
Three
Give
PR
that
guys.
kind of feel, right?
And you can pre-tape something if you
Oh, yeah.
want. You can pre-tape it and put it in.
So
that same
someone
night.
could video, like I
In the
said,
neighborhood,
bracket
not
sign
listening.
up, watching people golf, whatever. Then have it.
All right, I'm going to still keep this one live. We just got to, that
We'll
monkey.
tell you as a, tell
We
me
got
as a
this
job.
monkey running around and it's got to go
I
on
don't
someone's
think
back.
they'll turn
So.
down the opportunity.
Quickly, keep it moving along. Now, this ties into auction a little bit, which is the wine judging boxes. And I guess I've got the key things here. I've got is, the promotion of the sponsors, the marketing pieces we're putting together.
So I think,
Got to be sold on the online auction.
I think we should have a few of those marketing pieces, even if they're just a copy of a copy to put out at these tables, so our own, I was gonna say agents, so our own Rotarians understand it. And then I don't know if there's a way that we can kind of
Put
show
on the
them.
screen.
And then, is there a way that, I know you can't really send it out as the district, probably, maybe you can, that we can send it out to other Rotarians?
There is, I can't do it from my email, but if somebody wants to volunteer to do it from their email, I'll show them how to do it. There is, so we just need.
So I mean, I think that'd be great for sure.
I was
to
just
like
gonna bring
Prior
that
Lake, Farmington, Northville, Bloomington.
I just can't do it under my.
Sure, but I mean, those are two things that should go out for the next 3 weeks of just.
Right. Is there anything else as far as the wine boxes, was you working with Brenda, is that all tracking? You have the marketing pieces?
Rachel, it looks like has finished up the marketing pieces and my bad for the whole postcard terminology, so I think that got straightened out. And then basically, I just think people have to have a clear understanding. I don't think our Rotarians do. I think just our Rotarians could almost find enough to get sold, but the wine club is gonna do it too.
I think we really have to send it right.
The very key is the post. We have to get the message out that respectfully there are guidelines and the sheets coming back, and that's so important to Brenda. And Brenda has put her heart and soul into this as well. And that's why I think when you go to the meeting on Monday, you can just kind of talk about the partnership with the liquor store and being able to continue on. It's another place to announce it.
Right,
And
okay.
give each one of the council members one of those flyers.
Can I ask, is there a way to put it like on, I have Survey Monkey. Can we do a Survey Monkey for those sheets too? So they can either do it paper or do it online?
Brenda's kind of got her.
She's got the whole
put
thing,
together.
so,
She's kinda
yeah.
got her
It
deal.
goes in the box.
That
And it
ship
goes in
is
the
sailed,
box, and
so.
I kind of don't want to
Mess the
interfere
box.
with that. But, but you could, like, if you give it out to each council member, just showing
Because
that we're
these two are
partnering with the liquor store.
Okay.
When I was on council, they did that. And I told these guys that if you have kind of a sheet to put together that's similar to what we've done in the past, they'll put it up on the screen where our money has gone to in the
Yep,
past.
that was sent out.
Yep, so
I
they
got
can
that.
put that up on the screen and then they can say.
Well, let me jump to that one right now. So we're just gonna do a real short presentation. Anybody wants to show up?
So don't.
Your Rotary shirt, you're welcome to show up. Two things are gonna be presented there. One is, this bullets of what we do in general for donations. Do you have,
Yep, I sent
You
it.
have it.
I'll resend it to you.
So I have
okay,
it.
but for the
You
things
had
we
it, 'cause it's on the
donate,
letter.
Yep, you got it.
okay,
It's the letter that and you've seen all the.
It's in the stuff that.
It's got, you've seen it, it's in all the marketing.
okay, I just gotta make sure I got that one. The other thing is, just post up a flyer on, what's the best flyer to post up for.
There's
what we're
only
doing.
one.
Is that one, that-
They're all the same.
it's the same one, so I'll post that one up and hand that up.
So either you can send it to Jim ahead of time at the city, or you can put it up on.
I'll
thing
just
and
put it
he'll
up on
tune
the thing
into it.
there. Okay, we'll have some, so those two things, and, anybody else wants to show up, you're welcome to show up.
Yeah, but let's go back to the poster. There's where we have a problem. That poster, you did an 8.5 by 11? Or you said, that's not a, we need a poster.
It's probably about 16 by 24 is what they've been.
You know, when we do the posters,
Those last dimensions last time, I was given 5 by 8.5, 8 by 11, 22 by 17. So those are the dimensions I
22 by
made.
17.
No, the 22 by 17 are going in Brenda's sandwich thing.
Yep, and so
And
we
the
need another
posters,
one?
posters, Cornerstone should be able to just enlarge it. to
Well,
they're really good size, because that's what Quick Trip always, or Quick Copy always.
That's easy to do, that's just. resizing
so
it.
that's the ones she's asking for. So I'm on my way to Cornerstone now, but I wanted to clarify that. So can you send all of your templates then to Cornerstone? Or send them to me and I'll go over them with you.
If I sent them whatever the last edit was.
You had the last edit when you added citizens to it.
Yep, that's up there, and I replied.
And
That
so
was a
you
couple
have
days
those
ago.
then already?
I
Yeah, I
emailed
just
to
wanted-
everyone in PDF.
Okay.
Replied to the email
Yeah.
when Citizens was added, and I just
Got
asked
it.
if anyone else had,
Okay, so I've got.
if there's any other
5.5,
sponsors or any other updates.
Okay. I mean, we would segue into the
But
marketing.
Citizens was added to the sponsorship letter. They're,
Right, that's
they're
all
not
that-
on the poster
No,
because they're not
no,
a silver gold
no,
sponsor.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, because Brenda has some sandwich shine she's gonna use that at
Yeah,
22 by
and
7.
I can make another dimension if that's needed. That just
Nope,
wasn't
I
on my
think we're
first
fine
list,
then,
so.
but I just gonna
That's
use.
not far off from what we used for pesticides before Sheila. Could almost.
This is just for talking points, but I'm gonna send you that other piece.
I think
Just
that's
so
what
it's-
the
you have
content
something
like,
in
still
hand.
no. Again? What?
No.
Who do we have now?
Okay with
I
that.
mean, more sponsors is great, but
I'll also send you that.
We
other
need something
piece.
really short and bulletized here.
I have that. That's,
Okay.
I'll resend it.
Yeah, where we give, they'll send up and blow it up.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, before we just move on from marketing, is marketing pretty much any other issues with marketing? It's tracking. okay?
No, but I did want to ask, I'm doing 500 of the 5.5, 8.5 for the inserts at the liquor store. But you talked about having some for the tables.
Yep.
So is there any other print stuff that I need to get like yesterday?
Is there any way we can get posters for members? With members, are they able to put those up at during this time? Does anybody?
I can
know?
give them the 5.5, probably the 5.5, 8.5.
I think, I think we should drop and, I don't know the senior center arena, but I think each fire station, because I know they like to kind of support. And
So
then-
are you thinking our larger
the
posters?
larger ones,
Okay,
so
so
people
the
can see it.
5.5,
I think
8.5.
those were ledger size
Yeah.
before, or somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, they're bigger than Ledger.
So then, yeah,
They're poster, actually.
probably 16 by 24. I'd say at least a dozen of them printed, because you could do the fire.
And she
station.
wants them for all of
You
the
can put
liquor
it up.
stores. So,
Yeah.
and we should,
need a new
we
dimension.
need a Med City. You can bring one to, well, I don't see, that's the problem. I don't know if I can get the big ones by money. I should be able to get them by money, but they take at least 3 working days to get those.
Well,
because
they
They
have
can't
them
do
by next
them.
meeting.
Huh?
Oh, you want it for the,
No, I just say it for him to have.
Yeah.
I can get you the flyers.
Yeah, if
And
he
the
has the flyer, they'll pull it up on the,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So I'm just, there's only two things, I can only really put two things up for the meeting, so.
Yeah, no,
One of them is a summary of what we're giving,
And one's
and
the,
then one is to market what we're doing
Right.
this summer.
and like I said, all the pieces look identical, so it doesn't matter
Okay.
which one you get.
All right.
We had one thing, Rachel raised a good question, which I didn't know the answer to, in terms of marketing. For the packages for the auction, how is the live auction different than the regular auction?
that's what I wanted to know too.
There isn't, I mean, everything's just on Silent Auction Pro. There's just
Oh, it's
larger.
not a separate thing.
So would it be YouTubed out for the live, or, I'm really
You
not.
could do Facebook and YouTube, really. You could do it off the Zoom. You could do a Zoom thing.
Unless you want to make it separate somehow, but I don't
No.
know how
Too
we do that.
Too confusing, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, on a logistic level, if I promote a live auction item and people go, cool, I want that, where do I go? What do I tell them? Send them to Silent Auction Pro, it'll be there, they can bid.
I would,
Why don't you just
I
call it
don't even know if
auction?
I'd say a live auction.
No.
I
Let's
just,
call it
I
a
wouldn't
live,
call it
live
live.
event
They're all-
on the
They're all
last day of
online
the
auction
auction.
items.
Rotary auction.
Go to the auction webpage.
But, so they're all on the same
Yeah.
site though.
Yeah.
correct,
So
yeah.
there's no
Oh.
silent versus.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Okay. Well, you were talking about live auction at Brackets TV, Lakeville TV. I didn't know what that
We
was.
might
That's
just
new
do
to
a-
me, so.
I think that's more of a
Send out,
promotional
yeah.
video.
I'm calling it a virtual
That's
live
not
event.
necessary for people to bid on these items.
Virtual live event.
Okay.
So that's basically, it's not changing, there's no live auction per se, it's all the same auction, it's just the last day.
The last push.
But if we all want to do that,
Yeah, so any promotion of any of these, just send them to Silent Auction Pro. They should be good to go.
everything goes there. Okay, I think we're doing the market we hit the vending wine boxes. Okay, so I think good point is after next week and really start pushing the wine boxes and what the club members need to do with that and kind of move into that phase. Okay.
That's another good way for
That your
the
answer's been done.
Yeah.
I think what would be helpful is to
I'll
have
just wait
those
for an
sheets
email if you
here for members, the visualize, visually have those sheets on the table. So I'll just print off some of the things so that we can actually see what's going on if you're gonna start promoting it to the members to promote.
Is there a way on Zoom that, yeah, you can put it up on the thing so then they can all see it? So I think that's probably important too, since as many are on.
Do you want one made for Zoom?
Yeah, if you want to do that, I was just gonna take it as a PowerPoint.
They're all a lot of portrait orientation. None of them are landscape, but I have to make a landscape one for the website anyway. Sure. Do you need a 16 by 24 or will the other ones work for you? One of the other ones.
Why don't I ask Connor?
Jim, a lot of good work on vendors. Anything else we can talk with on working with vendors or?
No, I'm gonna make the calls today just to see who wants to participate in that, at least the ones that we identified. And this all originated from Lowell, because he said, since the ball got dropped before, he said, hey, here's what I gotta do, and then he's already contacted the Nadior.
Porterhouse gave 4 baskets already with a couple, $200-300 a piece.
Yeah.
Really?
Porterhouse did?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
I had to pick those up today.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, great. With sponsors, Cody, thanks for sticking around with all the other new intrusions in your life.
Blessings.
So,
Not
intrusions. I've had 5 kids, so I call them intrusions.
Actually, you've had more than 5, but they were.
Plus reptiles.
Yes.
That's funny.
So, are we anything else we can do to promote the sponsors? We got them in promotional pieces, this and that. Is it all looking okay for you?
Yeah, I think that's great. I don't think they care. It's just an act of goodwill at this point. I mean, it's just icing, just on the cake if we acknowledge them at this point.
We wrapped up that invoicing.
On social?
Yeah, I think
Throw all
so.
their logos up and say
I
big
think
thank
so.
you.
Maybe
All levels?
if it's not too much, maybe do like gold, like by themselves, a gold by themselves, a silver by themselves, a silver by themselves, and then like the rest kind of joined together. Maybe if it's not too much for you, Rachel, we don't have to. Honestly.
Is there an email someone
Yes.
that has
So
that
sponsor sheet.
separated out?
Yeah, you got an
What we do,
email
they give me
from
bullet
Tim Roach
points,
this
and then
week that
the
has it.
last one goes
So
up
you
as the
send me all the
marketing
logos in
piece.
one
We
email,
limit
so-
it 3. We can't
Tim
go more
sent
than
it
3.
earlier this week.
All right.
Perfect. Okay, I'll look for
That'll
Tim's
work.
email.
Yeah, and I think that's what it. Yeah, we don't need to put a marketing campaign.
The invoicing, there was something where we were
Is
like
Nancy still
invoicing once.
online?
Yep, Nancy's on the
Yep,
call.
ask her.
Can she hear us?
She's
Nancy can hear us. Was everything okay with like the invoicing, the sponsor?
Yeah, I've
we
just
can
got
go
3
through that?
left to do.
3 left to do. 3 left? Okay.
Yep, and they'll be done today.
She said they'll be done
Okay,
today.
thanks. We're making it work. We're making it work.
I think, Richard, at the city council, maybe make a plug for 2021 too. We appreciate you guys.
Y'all end with
pushing this
that.
Commercialist time to 2020. We look forward to your continued support in 2021.
And
We're
then
gonna
the date is May.
Exactly. So I mean, sponsors to say, hey, it's been great this year. We're gonna reach back out again next year. So just be forewarned, and hopefully we'll live event actually next year.
Okay. Just going through my
20.
sponsors.
Not necessarily related to Taste of Lakeville, but I think that Venmo link and the code, if that's on the website going forward, let's put it on there. Let's make it.
So I have, like below where I currently have the donation button, put Venmo on there too. Like on our website right now, I have a donation button that goes to PayPal. So that's because we don't pay for that. Yeah.
If PayPal costs money, Venmo doesn't cost money, and we have both, then I would put,
I'll figure it out.
there's a fee, no fee. And then people can choose.
Yeah.
I've
never seen that before, but I'll look it up. I'll figure it out. Yeah.
I don't know if you can't get a link to Venmo. Like I don't know the website's functionality. Like if you can create your own button with a link to somewhere, other places will just put it. They'll type it out. Like or Venmo us, and people get on their phone and just find it.
I could do that.
So
I could put it in the website.
yeah.
But I think this is getting on stuff, but going back, so when we have masterminds, we need to say, about Venmo and also the $2, people
Yeah,
can remind,
$2 off
we need to remind them if they're online, it's $2 and then
And that's so
All right.
today via Venmo for their $2.
Yep.
Just closing out some last items. We're not doing any more outreach to sponsors, right? Okay, so that one is closed out. Anything, I don't think we need to go over anything on tickets. They've all been refunded. So that, folks, is all I've got. Anything else? So I'll just stay with Kathy and we'll get the stuff. Make sure I have the stuff that we're gonna present at the council. It's 6:30. Does it start early?
I'm just logging off, guys, online.
Yeah, I'll see.
See you, Lynn. Bye, Nancy.